Shocking news for Raider Nation. Week 5 is here, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The Las Vegas Raiders are set to clash with the Indianapolis Colts, and believe me, this game could decide the entire direction of the season. One win changes everything. One loss. It could crush playoff hopes before they even begin. But before we dive into the latest updates, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss the biggest Raiders news. Now, let's get straight into it. The Raiders step into this matchup with a 1-3 record. That's tough, but here's why this game is massive: lose here, and the odds of making the playoffs plummet to just 5%. Win, and they jump all the way to nearly 30%. That's not just a small difference, that's a lifeline. Coach Pete Carroll and this new regime are under the microscope. Raider Nation is watching closely, and the message is clear: find a way to win, or risk losing the faith of the fans. And let's be real, the spotlight is on quarterback Geno Smith. Through 4 games, he's already thrown a league-high 7 interceptions. That simply cannot continue. The Colts defense, giving up over 220 passing yards per game, presents a big opportunity, but without star tackle Colton Miller protecting him, Geno will need to make quick, smart decisions to keep the offense moving. The truth is simple: if the Raiders want to win, their quarterback has to step up. But Geno isn't the only key here. The real difference maker might be waiting in the backfield. And that's exactly where we're headed next. This has to be an Ashton Jeanty type of game. Last week, he finally showed why he's so important: 155 total yards, 3 touchdowns, and a spark that this offense desperately needed. That's the kind of energy the Raiders have to lean on again. And don't overlook Raheem Mostert. On just 4 carries, he put up 62 yards, an incredible 15 yards per attempt. That kind of explosiveness can break open a defense, and with Colton Miller out, the ground game becomes even more critical. Without it, the vertical passing attack is going to struggle. Now, here's the challenge: the Colts defense is tough against the run. They've been holding opponents to under 100 rushing yards per game. That means players like Jordan Meredith and JPJ have to rise to the moment. This isn't just another game, it's a test of willpower in the trenches. If the Raiders can't win on the ground, winning at all becomes nearly impossible. Moving to the wide receivers, someone besides Trey Tucker and Jakobi Meyers has to step up. The Colts secondary has given up 58 catches to receivers this season, one of the worst marks in the league, and they've already surrendered 6 touchdowns. That's an opening waiting to be exploited. The question is, who's going to take advantage? Jack Besh is expected to see more opportunities, and rookies like Dante Thornton need to show up. With Brock Bowers not at full strength and Michael Mayer still working his way back, it's time for the younger guys to carry some weight. Defenses know they can focus on Myers and Tucker, and unless someone else breaks out, the offense risks stalling. Confidence among fans might be low, and honestly, I can't blame them. Right now, a lot of people feel unsure if the Raiders can pull this one off. But this is the kind of week where unexpected heroes can change the narrative. And that brings us to the tight ends, because if the Raiders want to surprise Indy, 2 tight end sets might just be the secret weapon. One thing that stood out last week against Chicago was how well the Raiders used their 2 tight end formations. That kind of approach is going to be crucial again, especially with Stone Forsythe at left tackle and DJ Glaze on the right side. Both young linemen need all the support they can get, and tight ends provide that extra layer of protection. Ian Thomas proved he can be a valuable blocker, and pairing him with Michael Mayer could give the offense the physical edge it needs. Here's another wrinkle worth considering: sliding Brock Bowers outside to line up as a receiver. Even if he's not at 100%, he's still one of the most talented weapons on the field, and moving him around could create mismatches. Now, the Colts haven't been easy on tight ends this season. They've allowed just 19 catches for 177 yards and a single touchdown to the position. But that's exactly why creativity matters. Shifting players, mixing formations, and forcing the defense to adjust can open up opportunities where they least expect it. Of course, all of this circles back to the offensive line. Protecting Geno Smith has to remain a priority. Against the Bears, the line only gave up 3 pressures, an incredible improvement compared to the 51 pressures allowed in the first 3 weeks. That's the kind of toughness this team needs again, especially with Kolton Miller still sidelined. The Colts defense has already racked up 10 sacks this season, ranking in the top half of the league. If the line can't keep Geno clean, the offense won't be able to stretch the field. This is where I want to see outside zone runs, heavy physical play, and confidence in guys like JPJ and Dylan Parham. And speaking of Parham, he looked like a completely different player in Week 4 compared to the first 3 weeks. If that version of him shows up again, the Raiders' run game could thrive. At the end of the day, football is always decided in the trenches. And against a team like the Colts, who pride themselves on physical, hard-nosed play, the Raiders must be ready to match that toughness snap for snap. The offense may still be finding its rhythm, but the defense has been the steady anchor in 3 of the first 4 games. And when you're missing a key piece like Kolton Miller on offense, or when the quarterback is battling through inconsistency, the defense has to carry even more of the load. Fortunately, the Raiders have a game-changer in Max Crosby. Number 98 brings the kind of relentless energy that can shift the outcome of an entire matchup. He's not just a star, he's the tone-setter. And with him on the field, the Raiders always have a fighting chance. But here's the truth, this week isn't just about Crosby. It's about the entire unit staying disciplined, creating pressure, and forcing mistakes from a young Colts offense. The Raiders cannot afford to let Indy dictate the pace of this game. Now let's turn our focus to the Raiders' defense, starting with the secondary. This unit has been under the spotlight, and for good reason. Eric Stokes is battling a knee injury, leaving his status uncertain. And Kai Blue Kelly? Let's be honest, his last 2 weeks have been rough. Missed assignments, shaky coverage, and costly lapses. That simply can't continue against a team like the Colts. Here's why: Indianapolis has no problem spreading the field with 4 receivers. Michael Pittman Jr. is their clear go-to guy, the player they trust most when the game is on the line. Think of him as Indy's version of Jacoby Myers, steady, reliable, and dangerous in big moments. But it doesn't stop there. Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, and even A.D. Mitchell can make an impact when given space. That kind of depth puts enormous pressure on a banged-up Raiders secondary. And that's the concern. With Richardson also uncertain, this cornerback group looks thin. The Raiders have been using the fewest sub-packages in the league, which tells you something important: the coaches don't fully trust the depth behind their starters. That means the safeties must step up in a big way. Jeremy Chin, in particular, has to play one of his most complete games of the season. He'll need to be physical against Jonathan Taylor in the run game, but also versatile enough to match up against tight ends like Tyler Warren, who's been a real threat this year. The Raiders can't afford to let Indy dictate the matchups. The secondary has to prove it's more than just a weak link, it has to become a weapon. One of the biggest challenges for this defense is figuring out how to use their personnel the right way. Take Isaiah Pola-Mao, for example. When he's been used as a strong safety, he's shown flashes of real talent, hard-hitting, aggressive, and disruptive. But playing him at free safety has been a disaster. The numbers don't lie, he ranks dead last among all qualified players at the position. He struggles in coverage, and until the Raiders adjust his role, that weakness will continue to be exposed. And this is the worst week to have coverage issues. The Colts are averaging 6.5 yards per play, number 1 in the entire NFL. They already have 4 plays of over 40 yards, also tied for first in the league. Here's how they do it: establish the run with Jonathan Taylor, force defenses to stack the box, then use play action to strike deep. If the Raiders' safeties can't tackle or give up explosive plays, Indy will punish them quickly. Special teams also need to clean things up. Yes, there were improvements last week, but there were also costly mistakes, penalties on returns, and that heartbreaking blocked field goal against Chicago. Normally, Michael Mayer protects the right side of that line, but with him out, the unit shuffled responsibilities and paid the price. It's small details like that which can flip a game. On the other side, the Colts don't hesitate to take points when they can. Kicker Spencer Schrader has been rock solid, leading the NFL with 13 made field goals at a 92% clip. That means if the Raiders give Indy opportunities inside scoring range, they'll capitalize every single time. The lesson is clear, the Raiders must be aggressive on offense, but smart enough not to dig themselves into an early hole. Against a team like the Colts, that's exactly what they want. If the Raiders want a real shot at this game, the key is simple: strike first. Get out to an early lead and force Indy to chase. But to do that, everything starts in the trenches. Slow down Jonathan Taylor, collapse the run lanes, and pressure Daniel Jones, because if you don't win up front, nothing else matters. And this is where Max Crosby comes in. Last week, he looked like a one-man wrecking crew. 5 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 3 passes batted down, yes, from a defensive end, and on top of that, a forced fumble and even an interception. That wasn't just dominant, that was one of the best performances of his career. Malcolm Kuntz also showed flashes, maybe his best game yet. Was that real progress from him, or just a weak Bears offensive line missing 2 starters? We'll find out. But the momentum is building, and the Raiders will need every ounce of it. I'd also like to see more of Tyree Wilson inside, because Indy's offensive line is no joke. They've only allowed 4 sacks all season, tied for 4th best in the NFL. They protect their quarterback and power that run game, which is exactly what makes them dangerous. The truth is, losing Christian Wilkins hurt this defensive interior more than anyone wants to admit. Last week, the tackles struggled, missed tackles, poor wrap-ups, not enough push. Against Jonathan Taylor, you can't afford that. He's leading the NFL in rushing yards for a reason, and you can bet he'll get 20-plus carries. Once he gets rolling downhill, it's a nightmare to stop him. That's why this game has to be all hands on deck. Fresh rotations, constant energy, and a defensive line ready to wear Taylor down. The linebackers, too, will be tested. Indy loves to put them in no-win situations, drop back into coverage or step up to slow the run. Either way, you're vulnerable. Right now, the Raiders linebackers are holding their own against north-south runners, but they've been shaky sideline to sideline. And against a back like Taylor, that's exactly where he'll test you. Coverage has been one of the Raiders' biggest headaches. Devin White. Liability. Landon Roberts. Same story. And against Indy, that's a dangerous problem, because Tyler Warren is no ordinary tight end. He's physical, reliable, and right now he's giving Brock Bowers a run for his money as one of the best young tight ends in the league. With 27 targets, 19 catches, and 263 yards, he's leading the Colts in receiving. That's the guy the Raiders have to figure out how to slow down. To do that, we need an A-plus performance from Jermaine Pratt. Same goes for Devin White. And honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing Jamal Adams get more snaps just for that sideline-to-sideline juice, because we'll need every ounce of speed and toughness to keep Warren in check. But Warren isn't the only problem. Daniel Jones has quietly been killing teams with his legs, 3 rushing touchdowns, 8 first-down runs. It's not flashy, but it extends drives, and it breaks your back if you're not ready. If the Raiders can stand tall at the point of attack, keep containment, and wrap up, Indy's offense suddenly looks a lot less dangerous. Now, let's talk about the quarterback situation, because I know everyone's thinking it. If Geno Smith throws an interception in the first quarter, should the Raiders bench him? I've heard that question all week. And my answer is no. Not yet. Because as frustrating as it's been, Geno has to be the guy we ride with. Learning a new offense isn't easy. The timing, the chemistry, the rhythm, it all takes reps. Pulling him early doesn't help him grow, and it doesn't help the team. The only way forward is to keep him in, keep pushing, and hope those growing pains start turning into progress. We're sitting at 1-3 right now, and let's be honest, this Colts matchup feels like a must-win. I came into the season expecting a win here, expecting a win next week against the Titans, and if we could get to 3-3 before facing the Chiefs in Week 7, there'd be hope. But if we drop this one, it might start feeling like another long year for the silver and black.